Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Plant Medicine, Cannabis, Psychedelics, and Pharmaceutics. So happy today that you are here with me. I am so appreciative of you guys always showing up. Without you, this show cannot even exist. It would have been long gone forgotten. And today I am super excited to have our guests. We have Guess what, folks? We're going international. We are going international, guys. Yeah, our guest today, Mr. Necole Hines. She's all the way from Canada. That's awesome. But before we get to Miss Necole, you guys know what's up. You know what's up. We gotta do our good house cleaning. So what is our good house cleaning? First of all, for those of you that are just joining this show, I am Dr. O, also known as Dr. Lola. I'm a clinical pharmacist by trade, and I'm a plant medicine lover. I focus on cannabis and psychedelics. Basically, what gives me the right to do this? I mean, why do I do this? Of course, I grew up with herbal medicine in the western part of the country, in western part of Africa, in Nigeria specifically. My earlier childhood, that was where I grew up. So we use herbal medicine as wellness tools. And I'm also a clinical pharmacist, so I'm bringing that knowledge as to help you level up on your wellness journey, saving money on healthcare costs, and avoiding adverse reaction. That's what's up. That's what I do. So what else do we need to know? This show is for educational purpose and should not be taken as medical advice. Consult with your doctor for all your medical need. Do not stop or start any medicine without talking to your doctor. That's one down. Now, what's the next thing? We got to say thank you to our sponsor. This show is sponsored by WCI Health, your alternative health and wellness hub. They are the makers of Glows and Glows beauty products. They are basically focused on alternative way to help you level up on your wellness journey, saving money on healthcare costs and avoiding adverse reaction. So if you are a dispensary or healthcare professionals, or even if you are just an enthusiast, I mean, just head straight to their website and see all their podcasts. They have educational materials, master classes, cannabis as medicine, and a whole bunch of cool stuff. So go check it out. Go check it out at wci-health.com or slide in their DM WCI Health 19. So that's that about that. And also, what else? You are the next. Thank you so much for you guys there that are supporting this show, that are subscribing on the Apple Podcast, and also donating to help us keep this show going. And if you are a member of our Health Equals Wealth membership group, you are indirectly supporting this show. So I want to say thank you to you guys. And for those of you that are saying, how can we join? Please go to my go straight to our link tree, WCI Health 19, or head straight to our website, wci-health.com, for all the information. And finally, if you are an organization out there and you would like to sponsor this show, please reach out to us at WCI-Health, and we will keep it going. That is that good house cleaning. There you are, Miss Necole. I am so happy to have you here. Like I said, Miss Necole is the founder of Faded Living, an educational platform that focuses on cannabis education and cooking, a whole lot of cool stuff that people don't even focus on these days. Nobody talks, Miss Necole, nobody talks about cooking, how to cook with cannabis. And this is a major wellness tool. It's just like when you go to the store and you buy your combo soup, indirectly it's a way of you adding to your wellness, all kind of stuff that we do. So cooking is part of us getting. I remember when I was growing up, when you are sick, they will make this pepper soup. It's kind of hot. It helps you to sweat and all that stuff. So Miss Necole is the founder of Faded Living out of Canada, Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, that's really cool. Welcome, Necole. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much for
Great
having
to
me,
have
Dr.
you.
O.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about the company. And I forgot to mention, Miss Necole, she is a big supporter of the Black Indigenous people of color, especially in the cannabis space. She's the founder of Louder Together. It's an advocacy society that cater to people of color that in the cannabis space. So I want you to tell me everything. Tell us a little bit about
Yes.
yourself and how you find yourself in this space. Why cannabis?
For sure. Thank you so much again, Dr. O, for having me. I mean, yay, Clubhouse, because that's how we met. So I love, you know what I mean? Big ups to Clubhouse. Okay, so yes, I'm Nicole Hines. I'm in Vancouver, BC, Canada. I have been a cannabis consumer on and off for about 25 years, but about 6 years ago is when I started to consume it more on a medicinal way because I had a car accident and I chose to use cannabis for my pain management instead of using pharmaceuticals. So that was kind of the shift in how I approached the plant. And when I started using it more on the medicinal side in Canada, that's when they started talking about the fact that the recreational market was, or the adult use market was going to be legal in Canada. So we had the medical cannabis market that was open. It was, I think now it's been alive for maybe 20 years even, but right. But in 2018, we also had the adult use market that came to be. And I was living in another city in Calgary, in Canada. I was living in Calgary, Alberta. And I decided to make the choice to move to Vancouver because I wanted to get into the cannabis industry when it became legal. And the reason being is that even in Canada, there was a war on drugs where Black, Indigenous, people of color were more disenfranchised by prohibition of this beautiful plant. And when I started to see the heavy hitters that were going to be playing a big role when it came to be legal, I noticed that they were cis white male. A lot of, you know, it was a lot of non-people of color that were going to kind of be spearheading the industry. And I wanted to play a role. And I'm, you know, I'm in my 40s. I was 40 at the time. And I was researching the industry and I felt like this is an industry that I can enter at the age that I am because it was brand new. And I already had a connection to the plant because I already supported it before I was using it medicinally. I always knew the benefit of it, but I didn't think I was going to cook with it. I really didn't. I mean, I had dabbled a little bit here and there, but I didn't think that that was going to be my, you know, the way I was going to play in the market kind of thing. But the reason why I incorporated cooking is because I used to run a food business before. I used to be a caterer. I used to have a business called Wings and Tings, and I'm Canadian born, but my parents are Jamaican, so I have Jamaican roots, and I was raised with Caribbean cooking.
When it comes to good cooking,
right? You know, right? Like it was part of my blood, and so I started this business before, and it was basically the philosophy was to use really great produce, to use organic produce as much as possible, you know, working with farmers and things of that nature. So I wanted to carry that healthy approach that I took before with cannabis, right? However, I do things a little different when it comes to cooking.
We're gonna get into that.
Different. You know, but that's kind of the reason why I incorporated the two, and really because a lot of people that live in the city I live in now, they knew me from before. I would bump into people and they would be like, Nicole, are you going to do food? Nicole, are you going to do food? Nicole, are you going to do food? And I started to think, yeah, maybe I should.
This could be,
Maybe I
yeah.
should, and I didn't start off with my company right away. I actually worked for a dispensary first. So I worked for a dispensary before it was legal in Canada. So the dispensary I worked at was more a medicinal approach as well. So we sold products like suppository for cancer
Yeah,
patients, you know, really great oils, and of course dried flower, of course dried
of
cannabis,
course. I
right,
mean,
and edibles and things of that nature. But I did that for a little bit, and then I worked for a larger cannabis company called Aurora. So I worked with
yeah.
Aurora Cannabis for 2.5 years, and while I was there, I was cooking on the side. I was getting into the culture of the city and kind of getting to meet people in the industry and stuff like that. And then over time, I decided to leave Aurora and to start Faded Living. And really, I started this company to help normalize adult cannabis use, really and truly, because even though it's been legal since 2018 in this country, there's still a stigma.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, there's still a stigma around cannabis use. And I felt that if I could uh, present it to people with food, it wouldn't be so foreign. It wouldn't be so scary. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be, it would be something that they could relate to.
Yeah, and one thing there is that food is love.
Yes.
There's been so much hatred with criminalization of this plant. And there's been that bias when it comes to the people that are locked up. And that is really a smart business strategy, really, because a lot of people are not really looking into food.
Right.
It's just
right.
now, recently on my clubhouse room, people will come up and they want to know about cooking with cannabis. This is really, really one of the questions that I get a lot. For me, I barely even cook. I mean, I was raised, I grew up as a little girl in Africa. Our food is totally different from the way they do food here. So my kids, they only want to eat the food.
Right, right.
So I just like literally, you know what? I'm gonna leave food to other folks to take care of it. But that's really a good thing. The other thing I wanna also mention is the fact that personally, and I know you probably in that school of thought too, I don't even think cannabis there's a recreational into this plant. If we are not deficient in something, we won't be craving for it.
Right.
If you are not thirsty for water, you're not gonna be grabbing water and be gulping it down. If you start doing that, we will like, oh, there's something going on here. We need to look more into this. So even the adult use is indirectly there is a deficiency somewhere in our endocannabinoid system. Absolutely. And that's why we found this out. So just want to point that out. Miss Nicole, please tell me, what is your approach to cooking with cannabis? What is the magic when it comes? Because we can't just throw it in like we throw our salt and pepper.
No, you can't just throw it in. But so my favorite way to consume cannabis, honestly, is smoking. That is my favorite way, or vaping even second, but really smoking is the first way. And it's just for a few reasons. It's because I like the ritual of, preparing my joint. I like the incitement that I get sometimes when I'm smoking, and it gets me creative. There's just a lot of different reasons. However, as I'm aging, I also know that later on,
all of us,
right? Everybody is, right? I may not be able to smoke as often later. So I wanted to start introducing it through food so that I'm comfortable if I just have to transition over to that. So that was number one. And number two, the edibles that are on the market, and just edibles in general, a lot of times they're so heavy on sugar. Really, really high on a sugar content. And of course, it's a lot of times really high dose of THC, right? And so because I like to smoke throughout the day, my approach is more of a low dose and more of a microdosing when I eat it, right? So I actually make and teach people how to make a low dosed oil. So I offer recommendations of different strains that are out on the market that have like a low THC and with some CBD in it as well. And
and let me come in right quick. And that's really a great, great approach, because when you look at our elderly population, and even children that are battling with maybe some chronic condition, part of what the advocacy, the canvas for D8 is the fact that, it has a lower potency compared to Delta 9, but the fact still remain all the drama surrounding that plant. So for somebody, it's not everybody that knows how to measure those oil in a low dose. So that will really be, especially elderly population, many of them that have never picked up smoke. I don't smoke. I've never smoked, but my husband, don't even let us go there. Don't let us go there. You are 20 something. He's way ahead of you when we get to that one, So for all those folks that have never really picked up smoking at all, that would be a really great ways to cater to their need.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, another thing that my approach is that, I teach and personally do this using a low dose dried flower. And then I also teach starting to make your oil, which is a cup of oil. I like to work with a cup because it's easy to measure things out when you're working with a cup, but only using 3.5 grams to start to infuse and make your cup of oil. And the reason why I start with only 3.5 grams is because cannabis can be very expensive. If you're not growing it yourself, it could be very expensive, whether you're accessing just the medical market or if you're accessing the adult use market, for instance, right? And so, especially for people who maybe this is new to them, I really, go with the start low, go slow kind of methodology, right? So I teach everybody to use 3.5 grams and 1 cup of their oil of choice. I personally like to work with coconut oil first because it's high in saturated fats and it can, get all the benefits of the cannabinoids more. And coconut oil is also double usage, meaning you can use it topically and then you can also cook with it. So if you really want to maximize your dollar, that's kind of why I like to use coconut oil, but I teach people how to infuse olive oil, canola oil, all sorts of oils, right? And that's pretty much it. But the first thing that we always have to do is to decarboxylate your flower. And that just means add EAT to it to, change it from having that THCA in its, regular form, and then actually drop that A off and turn it to THC, right? Like, and that's what we do. And we decarb it for about 40 minutes, which means you pop your broken up cannabis on a piece of parchment paper on a tray and put it in your oven for about 40 minutes. I like to do it at 220 degrees Fahrenheit, but I recommend you can use either 200 to 240, but not to go past 240. Because if you go past 240, the heat is too high, and now you're like burning off all you're kind of getting rid of all of your trichomes, all those things, your cannabinoids, stuff like that. So yeah, and that's kind of it. And then there's so many methods to infuse your oil, but I use a lot of methods, but one of the ones that is so true to me is using a slow cooker. A slow cooker, or what do they call them? Pretty much like a slow cooker type of thing, right? And you just put your cup of oil in there, you put your decarbed flour, and you let that be on the lowest setting for 3 hours, and then stir occasionally. And then once that's done, you strain out your flour, and then you have now a cup of oil that you can use. And I do workshops. I teach virtual workshops every month. And in my workshop, I give you the calculator on how to actually get the calculation of how much THC is in that oil, and then how much THC is in a tablespoon. I give you all the calculations so that you're able to know what you're working with. And then we can start cooking. because
That
pretty
is
much
amazing. That
that's
is
it.
really
It's
amazing. It
easy.
is
It's not as
because
difficult as people think.
a lot of people they just don't know because when it comes to plants, this plant, there are some plants you can cook them. There are some plants you don't want to cook them too much. So people, so for you, I mean, I've worked with food before, then you're able to actually really give it to people how they needed to do it. That's amazing, amazing. I
Yes.
have a question.
For
When you were
sure.
talking earlier, you talked about using saturated fat,
Yeah.
saturated oil.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason as it pertains to cannabis or the cannabinoid why we need saturated? Because traditional food, they'll say, oh, we don't need saturated fat because of cholesterols and all that stuff.
Yeah, basically with cannabis, and for it to really activate really well, it should have a lot of like high like fat. It should be quite fatty. So I find that like if
Mm.
like let's say canola oil, right? It's
Yeah,
less in
yeah.
less in fatty, right? So I recommend using canola oil for let's say somebody who's never eaten cannabis at all in their life,
Okay.
right? Because therefore it's going to be even lighter of a effect, let's say, than if
Mm-hmm.
I were to use something with coconut oil or even like avocado oil, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which are just higher in fats. So that is one of that's why a lot of the new products that are on the market now are with nanotechnology is allowing for
Mm-hmm.
it to be water soluble so that now you can actually add some of these new products on the market to just water and automatically it will infuse where
But we
right.
still have to be careful with that.
True, the very true. I'm all about my oils, don't get me wrong. I'm really about
Yeah.
my oils and making, but
And
you're right. Some of that new technology, like
yeah.
there's just so many other things that go behind the scenes in that. Same with edibles.
Yeah.
Same with edibles, because edibles that are on the market, some of the products that are used, or the not the products, the ingredients that are used in these products are even hard to pronounce.
I know. I know.
Right. And so that's one of the reasons why that and mainly the sugar content is one of the reasons why I wanted to cook with it more and teach people how to cook with it. And also, I am not much of a baker. I'm not really, I love to eat it. Don't get me wrong. I love to
Yeah.
eat
Yeah.
foods, but I'm not much of a baker. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a cook, like a chef, right? Like I
Yeah.
love savory foods and I wanted to be able to incorporate that, especially foods that you're familiar with, like, so
Absolutely.
therefore if this is something that you're trying for the first time, it makes you even more comfortable if you're eating, let's say, infused jollof rice, or you're eating
Yeah.
infused
Oh, they're
chili, or you're
taking us
eating, you know what I
home.
mean? Like you're already comfortable, or even something as simple as your tea in the morning, right?
Absolutely.
You can, that you can add some of that infused oil to your tea. You can,
Mm-hmm.
I teach people also how to infuse honey, for instance, where you can,
I love honey. I love honey. I do honey hibiscus with honey and
yes,
lemon lime. There was a time, especially during when the pandemic was really high out there. I love to do ginger, garlic, lemon lime, and hibiscus honey. It helps me
yes.
with my blood pressure.
That's awesome. So yeah, I actually do infused honey. I'm going to be doing some infused because I'm in Canada, so maple syrup is very big out here. So I'm
Uh,
going to do I'm going to do some infused maple syrup in the next week or so, and maybe do a little demo of that online. So yeah, I try to basically the whole idea is to try to come up with recipes that are very easy to do because
yeah.
I raised three sons. My oldest is 25. I have a 23-year-old and I have a 19-year-old, all boys. And
You
when you,
and me are in the same shoe. Now
ah,
in the age range, I have three boys too.
right?
One is gonna turn 18 in
Okay.
January. I have a 16-year-old and a 15.
Okay. So you're like just at the lower end. Yeah, I'm like
I
just a
know.
little bit
I
ahead.
know.
And as you know, as a mom of three sons,
Oh.
boys, you have to be fast, quick, boo, 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 boo. You don't, you know what I mean? Like, and so
Mm-hmm.
the cooking that I do is actually very simple, very quick, that type of thing, right? Because my whole household used to be really busy and, they have activities and all that kind of stuff. They don't have a lot of time. So things like smoothies, it's so easy to infuse a smoothie.
Yeah, I love smoothies. I love smoothies. I love the juicing.
Yes, I love
juicing.
yes.
Those are one of my favorite way of consuming the plants.
Absolutely. I also love doing things like if you do a honey, then you can drizzle that honey on so many other things, on dessert, on pizza, on like there's so many different things that you can do it. It doesn't have to be that the entire meal, everything has to be infused. It could be that you infuse your gravy. And so now you can just be adding that to your meal, right? It could be, like I said, your honey, your maple syrup, you know what I mean? Like those types of things. And then now I'm getting into like the beverages as well, like being able to infuse some beverages too, so that you can kind of be elevated throughout the day on a very low dose, and then you can still consume other ways that are important to you. Like for me is smoking, other people could be vaping and all those things, right? And the fact that I do teach people the calculation, what happens is that now you can scale up. So if you then start to feel that you want to add more THC to your life, I give you the tools on, now you have the calculation, and all you have to do is just change the numbers and you can find out how much you are having in each dose. So I just try to show you that it doesn't have to be so scary, and it actually can be fun and it can be safe.
That is awesome. That is, I've had a lot of aha moments already, folks. We are still with Miss Necole Hines. She is the founder of Faded Living, and this is Cannabis Psychedelic Room. And this is Let's Talk Plant Medicine with Dr. O, Cannabis, Psychedelics, and Pharmaceutics. This show is sponsored by WCI Health, your alternative health and wellness hub. Miss Necole, let's go back to you. Talk to us about your favorite food. What is your favorite infusion?
Okay, so one of the favorite things is jerk chicken and rice and peas. And I love me a spinach and arugula salad with like some mango and strawberries and blueberries and stuff.
In my tummy.
Right? And when you do that, there's so many ways. Like when I do a meal like that, I can just do my vinaigrette and make like a lemon vinaigrette that's infused and have that be the thing that is infused for the meal. I can also do the jerk gravy and make that infused and do that as well, right? But really jerk chicken, rice and peas, and a really pretty salad is one of my favorite things to eat and make.
Oh, that is yummy in my tummy. I love jerk. I love, I mean, the Jamaican and the African, we are the same. The Jamaican is like an extension of us. So sometimes you don't want all this cheese. Cheese has its own place, but at the same time, I grew up with rice and all this jerk, pepper, and all that. So that is really my language. Miss Necole, can you tell us a little bit, because everybody have different stories how they came into the plant. How has the plant been beneficial to you? How has the plant served you?
Oh, so in so many ways. When I started to consume more on the medicinal side, so in my mind, I'm like, this is, helping me with the pain, is really when I realized all cannabis use is therapeutic use. Like every single time that I was using before, it was for a reason. And it could be because I needed balance in my life. It could be because I was stressed out and I just needed to, like not lose it. You know what I mean? It could be because I was dealing with anxiety. It could be because I wanted to get creative. You know what I mean? Sometimes I wanted to draw, paint, write, whatever the case may be. So it was when I was using it specifically for pain, and it was so helpful for pain management, I will say, at least for me, I can only speak for me. It was really, really helpful. And the fact that I wasn't getting any counter effects from it. And I say that because before I used cannabis for pain management, I was using over-the-counter medication. I didn't want to do opioids, so I was using
Yeah.
things like Motrin and stuff like that, right?
Those have
But
their side effects too. The
right, and that's what I
GI.
was just gonna say. It had the side effects to the point where I was getting stomach issues, and I had to go
Yes.
to the doctor to get medication to counteract the medication. And that's when I thought that this is mine. This is not. This is ridiculous.
Not
This is
working.
absolutely ridiculous. So when I realized, like, wow, if I choose to stop today, and having from having cannabis, like my side effects are not the same as stopping pharmaceuticals,
Yeah.
right? Because, there was a 4 years ago, I went when we could really, really travel. There was no COVID, no pandemic. I went to Cuba, and it was after my Cuba trip that I knew that I can only travel places that cannabis is
Legal.
accepted
Yeah.
and legal, right? Because Cuba, it was not for travelers. Like I know they have a medical program for their residents, but they don't have something for travelers. So when I went away back 4 years ago, that was when the pain was still very more intense than it
Intense.
is now. So I had to get a prescription for 8 days of prescription of naproxen and Tylenol 3s. Okay, so I took that for 8 days on my trip. When I came back and stopped taking it and went back to cannabis, I was getting hives, like a rash kind of thing, like all over my body. And then some of my coworkers were saying, "Oh, you are detoxing." They're like, "You are actually detoxing." I
Yeah.
said, "Wow, from 8 days
Really?
only." Yeah,
Yeah.
like
That is
that is so crazy
it's
to me.
yeah. That is this plant is really, really an amazing
It
plant.
is.
I
It's so
mean, even when you look at the fact that even the dronabinol that we give cancer for nausea due to cancer chemo or for weight gain in HIV/AIDS patient, and when you already factor you model this plant in your synthetic product, why do we still have it in the Schedule 1? It don't make no sense. And that brings me to Louder Together, your advocacy group,
yeah.
because I make it and what I tell people is that when we talk about the minority or Black, Indigenous people of color, we are not necessarily saying our Caucasian families or our Caucasian friends and neighbors that they are not part of what we are talking about. We're really talking about I mean, first of all, an injustice to one is an injustice to all. I knew that from growing up. You drum that into your student union. An injustice to one is an injustice to all. Secondly, we're talking about there's the 1%, there is the 99% of us.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying? So indirectly, the color of even though the color of your skin might be a little bit lighter shade, if you are not part of that 1%, or let's say those
You're
2%
still
up
rolling with
there,
a couple of us over here.
it's still us together. So when we are talking about especially when we're talking about people of color, minority, it is really everybody's battle.
Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
is really everybody's battle. So I would love you to go into details about Louder Together, what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
and and how our audience might be able to support the cause.
Yes. So Louder Together. I'm really excited about this organization because I feel like some great things are going to be coming forth with the group. So exciting news. I can't share it yet for
Yeah,
future,
it's okay.
but for the time being, I can say is that we formed this group out in Vancouver, BC back in I would say around in 2020, around the time of George Floyd's death. So before George Floyd sadly had been murdered, had we had put on an event in January of 2020, and the event was called Louder Together. And the idea was to put on a talk for people who were in the cannabis space, but who were minorities, people of color,
Yeah.
Black, brown, etc. And we piggybacked on a cannabis conference called Lift. It happens in Canada. There might be another one in November in Toronto, but at the time it was happening in Vancouver. And what we noticed was a lot of the panelists at a lot of these large conferences, these cannabis conferences, looked of the same color, right? There wasn't a lot of diversity, right? Right. And so because of that, we did sort of our own little mini event.
Create our own table.
Right. Yes, pretty much create your own table. And it was the city that I live in is on the west coast of Canada. It doesn't get a lot of snow out here, but the day that we did it very early in the morning. It was a snowy day, and Vancouverites don't love the snow, and it was a packed house. It was a packed house because people were really eager to see people of color, people that looked like them. Speaking about the industry. So we did that. It was well, and we decided to form a group. When George Floyd's murder happened, we came together as a group and realized, like, what could we do? Like, what really could we do? And one of our members mentioned that we have cannabis excise taxes that we pay on the products and such. And we found out that most of that money, or I don't know what the percentage is anymore, but would go to our RCMP, which is our federal police board. So that is like some of that excise taxes was going to the RCMP to then police the Cannabis Act, which to me does not make sense. So
like you're taking money from us to prosecute us as well.
Thank you. That it was like mind blowing. So we created a petition, and we got support from a politician out here, Matthew Green, and the petition was asking our government to reallocate the cannabis excise taxes from going to the RCMP budget, but rather to BIPOC communities and initiatives. Now the government said no, but we are going to come out with another petition. So stay tuned for that. We are coming up for another petition, not asking for reallocation, but just asking for funds. Because sadly, we in Canada, like I mentioned, have been legal from 2018, but there is no concrete social equity program yet. And I think that's embarrassing.
And that is, Go ahead.
So that is one of the initiatives that the group has, started off with, and we want to be a place that we can offer mentorship for BIPOC cannabis entrepreneurs. Want to be a space to share the voices of BIPOC cannabis entrepreneurs and maybe mentorship and etc. So we really want to be able to provide a lot of support for BIPOC entrepreneurs to get into the cannabis space and also to be successful and sustainable.
Absolutely. And I always tell folks, I say, you know what, even because when you look at your neighborhood, you see different color, different shade, different folks. But when, for whatever reason, you beginning to separate people, even the people you are trying to cater to, they don't want that because it's embarrassing for them.
Yes, exactly.
I was telling somebody, I said, when that George Floyd incident happened, I said, the Caucasian community, how do you think they feel? Especially here in United States, especially here in Florida where I live. Hardly can you walk down the street, you don't see, if you see two black or two white folks, you're probably going to see three people that are mixed race.
Right.
These are your families. Right. You get what I'm saying? So what does it's embarrassing for them because they look at this situation and say, oh, this is my neighbor. This is my best friend. I walk right by my side. But now, so racism or all this discrimination is an embarrassment for the people that you're trying to cater to, and they don't want that.
And they don't want it.
They don't want it.
Exactly.
It is embarrassing. So, anyway, that is really, I think the more we talk about it, even we got to keep at it. We got to keep talking about it, because if we don't talk about it, nobody is going to come and talk about it to us. It's just like the issue of women's rights, and I don't want us to be going into the politics and all that stuff. But at the same time, I mean, it don't even make no sense for anybody to be telling another soul what to do with your body. This is
Oh, I
my
know.
body, for
Oh,
God's sake. It is my
absolutely.
body. Why
Yeah,
should you legalize my body?
absolutely.
And the Texas, they just had this
Mhm.
abortion. So I mean,
My
personally,
heart,
everybody
my
is
heart,
crazy.
my heart.
And these are the same people when these children want to come and get food, they say, oh, they are on food stamp. Oh, they are my migrant children, locking kids up in cage. But
Mhm.
you are the same community that's saying, oh, you cannot do anything to these kids. You cannot. I mean, I'm not saying, that's not what I'm not saying abortion, people should, but leave people alone to make their
Absolutely.
own decision.
Absolutely.
That is their choice. Why
Absolutely.
should you be telling somebody what to do with their body? This is crazy town here, Miss
Absolutely.
Nicole.
I know,
We're
so completely. But again, I'm still positive with a lot of things, and we've been able to, like, even with Louder Together, the
Mhm.
the fact that we got enough signatures to even bring it towards the
Yeah,
government was amazing. The fact
yeah.
that we got a politician that was behind us and
Mm-hmm.
supported of us is amazing. So I
That
mean,
is.
the more that they hear our voices, the more they're going to have to listen.
I think you're
You
on
know?
the right track.
Yeah.
I think you guys are doing amazing thing in that organization, and just keep going for it. Yeah, before I let you go, Miss Nicole, I know a lot of our audience that, like I said, in my rooms, people ask me about infused food, how to cook with cannabis. For those of our audience that want to either get into this cannabis infused space as a business, or just want to know what to do, how to use it themselves, how to cook with this plant, what is your advice, or your what do you advise them when it comes to cooking with cannabis?
Well, I will say, and this is just based on some of the steps I took, there is, and of course, the internet, there's so much information out
Oh
there.
Lord.
You know what I mean? So, and a lot of good information too, right?
Yeah,
So I do recommend the internet. It's great. There's a lot of really amazing books that are out there as well. Like, I mean, Google is your friend. That was one of the major things that I did. And then you'll start to find that there are online courses that you can take. I also teach online courses at, with Faded Living, and you can always go to fadedliving.com and you'll see that,
definitely.
I do 3 different workshops monthly. And one of the workshops, which I'm really excited about, is I do a cooking with cannabis and terpenes. So every month I focus on a terpene. In September, I'm doing the terpene pinene. And then I talk about the benefits of that terpene. I give you examples of strains that are on the market that are high in pinene. I also give you recipes, like we'll do a pesto recipe and some other really fun stuff. And I give you the tips on how to infuse. And then you get everything also emailed afterwards. So you have access to that session as well that you can refer to. So, I mean, there's always myself, but so many amazing other cannabis chefs that are putting information out there that, online is really your best friend.
That is amazing. I'm going to be checking out fadedliving.com
Yeah.
myself too. There's a lot of golden nuggets that Miss Nicole is dropping for us today. That is really, really. And I was, when you were describing the honey and all those stuff, do we have like a brand, like you having your own, like your branded food
Okay, so
in the
I
pipeline?
I
We need
am
that.
I know. I have been really lucky that I have some friends that have gifted me some beautiful olive oil, like beautiful olive oil from Sicily. And
Oh.
I have access to a great supply of it. So I am going to start working on infusing olive oil this beautiful olive oil and see where that takes me. So fingers crossed, putting it out there. You'll see it on the market at some time in my life.
That is so cool. That is so cool, Miss Nicole.
Yes.
Tell us, where can our audience find you? Where can we find
Yes.
you?
Oh my goodness. So one of the beautiful things about Faded Living is that it is at Faded Living on all social media platforms.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, even, it's just at Faded Living. So very easy to find me. And then you can definitely check out my website, fadedliving.com.
And we're going to be putting that link in the show notes when we publish this episode. Miss Nicole, you've been so generous, not just with your time, but with all the golden nuggets that you threw at us today. I am so stoked. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for being here, Miss Nicole. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I totally appreciate you having me here. It has been fun. It's a great way to start my Saturday. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So guys, that's our show for today. We will be putting all the links from Miss Nicole's, so we can go to our website and support what she's doing, especially with our brand as well as Louder Together. And that's it. So if you are yet to join Cannabis as Medicine masterclass, please go to the website wci-health.com. And also we are getting ready to come up with an event, Florida networking, business networking. So you guys, by the time we release this episode, you will be able to have access to that. And like I said, if you are an organization out there and you would like to sponsor this show, please slide in my DM, WCI Health 19. And you are yet to pick up your book, A Pharmacist's Guide to Cannabis, Perspective of a Non-Conforming Clinician. Miss Nicole was telling you doing it basic, easy, make it simple. That is exactly what I did with this book. I wanted to make it simple, basic, take away the medical jargons. And the Cannabisiac, the Mosaic group, they are also the organization in charge of Cannabisiac. They're going to be reviewing the book as their book of the month for September. So guys, be on the lookout, check the profile. That's where the good stuff happen. You are yet to pick up your copy, go to wci-health.com. This is a must for everybody. It's not from me, it's from folks that have read it. It's a basic. Anyway, that's it. And until next time, folks, remember, health equals well. Bye, guys. Thank you, Miss Nicole.
Bye. Thank you.